Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at an Android tablet from Lenovo that you might be able to pick up at a reasonable price. This is their Tab Plus, the 2024 edition. And as you can see here, it's got a rather unique design with a built-in kickstand and a rather large area for speakers on the left and the right-hand side of the unit. This is very much a media consumption device, and its standout feature are those speakers and the sound quality that comes out of them. But there's also a lot of other neat little features in here that we will take a look at throughout the course of this review. And I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this is on loan from Lenovo. So when we're done with this, it goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this tablet is all about. Now, the price point on this will fluctuate quite a bit. These tend to go on sale whenever there's a Black Friday event or one of those summer sales events like Prime Day. So definitely shop around a bit. At the moment, I am seeing this selling for $189 on a Black Friday special at Best Buy. But again, prices will vary based on when you see this video. Now, these all have a MediaTek Helio G99 processor built in. As you will see in a few minutes, this is not as powerful as even the lowest cost iPad from a couple of years ago. But for what it's designed for, it is more than adequate. And you'll see adequate performance in a few minutes as we start walking through all of the different features of it. It has 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. This version has 256 gigabytes of built-in storage, but the base model comes with 128. But they all have an SD card slot here at the top, so you can augment the onboard storage. According to the specifications, it'll support a card up to 1 terabyte. So you can definitely get a lot of space in here to store photos or movies or other things that you want to take with you on the go. The display is pretty nice. It's an 11.5-inch display running at 2000 by 1200. So it's essentially a 1080p display. It only, though, covers 72% of the NTSC color space. So although the colors look fine on it, it's not quite up to par for creative work. So if you are trying to edit photos or something, this is probably not the best choice. But again, it'll be fine for media consumption. It does not support HDR, but it does have about 400 nits of brightness, which is fine. And it runs at 90 hertz for its refresh rate. And what that means is that as you're navigating through the device, it's going to feel very responsive because the display updates 90 times per second, which gives you a much smoother feel, and it feels more reactive. So even though the processor on here is not all that quick, because the display is so responsive, it feels faster, I think, than it really is. But overall, it's a pretty nice device to navigate. Now, although it looks a bit bulky, it's not that heavy. It comes in at 1.43 pounds or 650 grams. The build quality on it feels very nice for a lower-end tablet. It's all metal. It's got a very nice curve to it, so it doesn't have any sharp edges on it. And I was very impressed with the built-in kickstand. It's got a lot of positions that you can put it into. So it'll go all the way down here, and then you can pretty much leave it in just about any spot on the way back up. The hinges are very high quality on this. They've got a very nice stiff feel to them, and it tends to stay put no matter what spot you lock it into. And you've got that kickstand without having to carry around an extra accessory or case. It is built right in. And again, this kind of brings home the fact that this is a consumption device that is designed to sit on a table and play back some media. Now, you've got 2 cameras on board. They're both 8 megapixel, nothing spectacular, but there is one centered here when you're in its landscape orientation, and then you've got another one here on the back. The image quality out of these is not great, but they'll both shoot 1080p video at 30 frames per second and take still photographs that I guess are fine if you don't have any other cameras available. This is the type of camera that I typically see on lower cost tablets like this one. So there are always areas where they make a few sacrifices, and the camera on this one is where they chose to do that. But what they make up for here is in the audio category with these great speakers. You've got stereo speakers here. There's not just 2 of them, but rather 8. 4 tweeters and 4 woofers split up between the 2 sides. And what's really cool about this thing is that it works as a Bluetooth speaker. So if I just hit play on my phone here, I can start playing back music over Bluetooth like I could to any Bluetooth speaker. And it's hard to convey in a video what it sounds like, but I have to say this is probably the loudest tablet I have ever tested, and one with a good range of sound as well. It doesn't give you booming bass, but it definitely has more of a bass kick than any other tablet that I have looked at any price. And it does support some spatial audio features that many of the streaming providers support for movies and TV shows. And it has some Dolby Atmos controls as well to get the sound fine-tuned to what you want. But what's nice about this is that you can actually get decent sound without having to put headphones on first. And that is nice to see in a lower-end product. Additionally, they've got a headphone jack here too for connecting up traditional headphones if you want to do that. And then, of course, you've got a USB Type-C port here on the side for connecting headphones if you want, but also for charging and for other USB devices. It does not, though, support video output, nor does the port support speeds beyond USB 2.0. So it's a very limited port, but you can hook up a pair of headphones there too if you'd like to do that. Now, it does have a huge battery on board, 8,600 milliamp hours. If you're playing movies on a long flight, this should get you through a 10 or 11-hour trip without having to recharge. Games, of course, will impact battery life a little more significantly, but with the big battery in here, I think for most folks, you will easily get through a day or more of consistent usage, even more so if you turn the display brightness down a bit. It also has a fast charger on board as well, along with a 45-watt charger that comes in the box. So from a power standpoint, I think you'll get plenty of longevity out of this one. Let's take a look now and see how this performs, along with some of the neat features that they baked into it. Now, the tablet is running Android 14, and I have it on all of the latest updates. It does have Wi-Fi on board, but it's only AC Wi-Fi. It is not Wi-Fi 6, but I didn't notice any performance issues here playing videos from YouTube or doing some web browsing or something like that. As you can see here, I can jump around pretty quickly from one thing to the other here. We can go over to my blog, for example, and see how quickly that loads up. And from the standpoint of browsing and video playback, this is more than adequate, even though it may not be as high performing as an iPad or some of the other higher end tablets that Lenovo and Samsung and others make. But overall, it feels pretty quick here. Additionally, they've got some cool reading modes here too. So if you pull down the top of the menu here and hit this book icon, you can put it into this black and white mode that works better for reading. It doesn't have as much contrast. You don't have any color here, as you can see. And it mimics kind of what a Kindle screen might look like, even though it is backlit. It is actually very pleasant on the eyes. They got rid of some of the blue light. They have another mode here, if I can figure out how to get the options up, that allow you to do a muted color effect as well, which kind of mirrors a color e-ink display. So you get a little bit of color, not too much, along with that blue getting dissipated away. So if you're doing a lot of reading on here, I found this mode to be a little more comfortable than the standard color mode. Now, like most Android tablets these days, you can do split screen and floating windows as well. So if I tap up here and go to split screen, I can select another application to run next to the one I've currently got up. So I can have YouTube up on this side and scroll this independently from that. I can also move the windows around a little bit. And here's where you can see that processor coming into play. There is a bit of a delay when I am repositioning things and it has to figure out what I'm asking it to do. So you do get a little bit of delay in that regard, but beyond that, the screen refresh rate does make it feel pretty zippy. Here's another neat feature called floating window. So you can have the window here just floating on kind of in a mobile phone size here if you want, and then you can put it back to full screen and go from there. One other cool thing that this tablet can do, if I can figure out how to get rid of this, is we can switch this into what they call PC desktop mode. And this would be more useful if you could plug this into an external display. And what this will do is drop you into a mode that works like a desktop PC would. So for example, if I go over to Google Docs, I will have that operating here in a window that I can move around. I could pull Chrome back up here and have that work in an independent window. And it supports mice and keyboards, so you can have basically a simulated desktop kind of interface here, but running with the Android versions of the apps. Now they've also got a noise machine built into this thing, another quirky feature. To activate it, you pull down the menu here and just tap on that little ear icon to turn it on. Inside of the settings, you can select a whole bunch of different sounds that it can make. So for example, we have a storm, which kind of loops a thunderstorm and rain. If the thunder's a little too much for you, you've got spring rain here that's just a little more rain. Get a little bit of a white noise thing. They don't actually have a white noise sound from what I can see here, but they do have some music options here, some cicadas, a cozy night with a little music, an autumn wind. You get the idea. You can pick a sound that works for you if you just want some noise in the background without getting distracted, and then you can easily just turn it right off. Now on a live stream the other day, I did some gaming on the tablet here, and although this is not a blazingly fast processor, it is good enough to run games like Minecraft here without too many issues. Everything ran pretty smoothly, and if you've got a kid that's playing Minecraft on a tablet, this one will play it as well without any real issues, and the game controller worked okay too. Roblox ran okay as well. My kids play a lot of Roblox on their iPads. It does get a little sluggish in more complex environments, so some maps may work better than others, but this one that we run all the time when testing seemed to work okay, and it was playable, so no issues there. I also did some game streaming from the Xbox Cloud service here. If you have a Game Pass Ultimate subscription, you can stream games from Microsoft, and this also worked pretty well here with the game controller attached using the built-in AC Wi-Fi. And on the 3D Mark Wildlife benchmark test, we got a score of 1,239. That is a pretty low score, but it is typical for this MediaTek processor. But take a look at the iPad 8th generation. This is the older iPad from a couple of years ago. This is what my kids use. And that one scores significantly higher on this gaming benchmark. And that iPad also performs better for things like video editing and complex drawing with multiple layers and photo editing and that sort of thing. That's where the iPad does much better, content creation. But if you are consuming a lot of content, this is fine. It is more than adequate, as you saw, for streaming video or doing some web browsing and even some basic games. But the iPads are just much more powerful, even around the price point of this one. Now, my only gripe with this tablet is the amount of pre-installed bloatware it comes with. And these apps can mostly be removed. But for example, when I first booted this up, I had the Booking.com and the TikTok app. There was a bunch of games in here. I got rid of some of them, but I left a few here as an example. So you've got things like Cat Tile and Find 5 Differences. And these apps typically run with advertising, and there's also some data that gets sent back to data brokers from tablets like this, which include your location and other things. I don't like having this stuff on a tablet without really knowing what these apps are and where they come from. Another concern I have is that there's a folder here called Apps for You, which apparently finds apps that it thinks you might like and it puts them into the folder there. So that kind of stuff I am not crazy about from a privacy perspective and also just from a control perspective. So I would suggest taking some time when you get this to clean off any app that you're not going to use. And note that sometimes those apps might return if you have an update to the firmware, which will get pushed down occasionally. And on that topic, Lenovo has committed to update this tablet with security updates for 4 years from the date of manufacture. So you will get security updates through 2028 on this. And they also promise that it will get 2 OS updates over the course of its lifespan. So presumably that will get you to Android 18. But Google typically releases Android once a year, so you maybe get 2 years of OS updates and 4 years of security patches. So bloatware issues aside, I do think this is a decent media consumption tablet. It's got great battery life, really nice speakers, a very nice kickstand in the back here, and it's something that if you're looking just for a device to play back some Netflix or browse the web every once in a while, I think you will have a good run with this. You can, of course, put it into portrait orientation and browse that way as well. It's not all that heavy, and it feels very, very well built for its price point. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.